around. Drawing Budweiser from the tap, Billy said, Henry Friddle was consumed by vengeance. After silent communion with his brew, the tourist asked Ned Purcell, Vengeance? So you urinated on Friddle's windows first. It wasn't the same thing at all, Ned warned in a rough tone that advised the outsider to avoid being judgmental. Ned didn't do it from his roof, Billy said. That's right. I walked up to his house, like a man, stood on his lawn, and aimed at his dining room windows. Henry and his wife were having dinner at the time, Billy said. Before the tourist might express revulsion at the timing of this assault, Ned said, They were eating quail, for God's sake. You showered their windows because they were eating quail. Ned sputtered with exasperation. Oh, of course not. Do I look insane to you? He rolled his eyes at Billy. Billy raised his eyebrows as though to say, What do you expect of a tourist? I'm just trying to convey how pretentious they were, Ned clarified. Always eating quail or snails or Swiss chard. Phony bastards, the tourist said, with such a light seasoning of mockery that Ned Purcell didn't detect it, although Billy did. Exactly, Ned confirmed. Henry Friddle drove a Jaguar, and his wife drove a car, you won't believe this, a car made in Sweden. Detroit was too common for them, said the tourist. Exactly. How much of a snob do you have to be to bring a car all the way from Sweden? The tourist said, I'll wager they were wine connoisseurs. Big time. Did you know them or something? I just know the type. They had a lot of books. You've got 'em nailed, Ned declared. They'd sit on the front porch, sniffing their wine, reading their books. Right out in public. Imagine that. But if you didn't pee on their dining room windows because they were snobs, why did you? 1,000 reasons, Ned assured him. The incident of the skunk, the incident of the lawn fertilizer, the dead petunias, and the garden gnome, Billy added as he rinsed glasses in the bar sink. The garden gnome was the last straw, Ned agreed. I can understand being driven to aggressive urination by pink plastic flamingos, said the tourist, but frankly, not by a gnome. Ned scowled, remembering the affront. Ariadne gave it my face. Ariadne who? Henry Friddle's wife. You ever heard a more pretentious name? Well, the Friddle part brings it down to earth. She was an art professor at the same college. She sculpted the gnome, created the mold, poured the concrete, painted it herself. Having a sculpture modeled after you can be an honor. The beer foam on Ned's upper lip gave him a rabid appearance as he protested, It was a gnome, pal, a drunken gnome. The nose was red as an apple. It was carrying a beer bottle in each hand. And its fly was unzipped, Billy added. Thanks so much for reminding me, Ned grumbled. Worse, hanging out of his pants was the head and neck of a dead goose. How creative, said the tourist. At first I didn't know what the hell that meant. Symbolism, metaphor. Yeah, I figured it out. Everybody who walked past their place saw it and got a laugh at my expense. Wouldn't need to see the gnome for that, said the tourist. Misunderstanding, Ned agreed. Right, just hearing about it, people were laughing, so I busted up the gnome with a sledgehammer. And they sued you. Worse. They set out another gnome, figuring I'd bust up the first. Ariadne had cast and painted a second. I thought life was mellow here in the wine country. Then they tell me, Ned continued, if I bust up the second one, they'll put a third on the lawn. Plus, they'll manufacture a bunch and sell them at cost to anyone who wants a Ned Purcell gnome. Sounds like an empty threat, said the tourist. Would there really be people who'd want such a thing? Dozens, Billy assured him. This town's become a mean place since the pâté and brie crowd started moving in from San Francisco, Ned said sullenly. So when you didn't dare take a sledgehammer to the second gnome, you were left with no choice but to pee on their windows. Exactly. But I didn't just go off half-cocked. I thought about the situation for a week. Then I hosed them. After which Henry Friddle climbed on his roof with a full bladder, looking for justice. Yeah, but he waited till I had a birthday dinner from my mom. Unforgivable, Billy judged. Does the mafia attack innocent members of a man's family? Ned asked indignantly. Although the question had been rhetorical, Billy played for his tip. No, The Mafia's got class. Which is a word these professor types can't even spell, Ned said. Mom was 76. She could have had a heart attack. So, the tourist said, while trying to urinate on your dining room windows, Friddle fell off his roof and broke his neck on the Ned Purcell gnome. Pretty ironic. I don't know ironic, Ned replied, but it sure was sweet. Tell him what your mom said, Billy urged. Following a sip of beer, Ned obliged. My mom told me, honey, praise the Lord, this proves there's a God. After taking a moment to absorb these words, the tourist said, she sounds like quite a religious woman. She wasn't always, but at 72, she caught pneumonia. It's sure convenient to have God at a time like that. She figured if God existed, maybe he'd save her. If he didn't exist, she wouldn't be out nothing but some time wasted on prayer. Time, the tourist advised, is our most precious possession. True, Ned agreed. But Mom wouldn't have wasted much because mostly she could pray while she watched TV. What an inspiring story, said the tourist and ordered a beer. Billy opened a pretentious bottle of Heineken, provided a fresh, chilled glass, and whispered, this one's on the house. That's nice of you, thanks. I've been thinking you're quiet and soft-spoken for a bartender, but now maybe I understand why. From his lonely outpost farther along the bar, Ned Purcell raised his glass in a toast. To Ariadne, may she rest in peace. Although it might have been against his will, the tourist was engaged again. Of Ned he asked, not another gnome tragedy? Cancer, 2 years after Henry fell off the roof. I sure wish it hadn't happened. Pouring the fresh Heineken down the side of his tilted glass, the stranger said, death has a way of putting our petty squabbles in perspective. I miss her, Ned said. She had the most spectacular rack, and she didn't always wear a bra. The tourist twitched. She'd be working in the yard, Ned remembered almost dreamily, or walking the dog, and that fine pair would be bouncing and swaying so sweet you couldn't catch your breath. The tourist checked his face in the back bar mirror, perhaps to see if he looked as appalled as he felt. Billy, Ned asked, didn't she have the finest set of mamas you could hope to see? She did, Billy agreed. Ned slid off his stool, shambled toward the men's room, paused at the tourist. Even when cancer withered her, those mamas didn't shrink. The leaner she got, the bigger they were in proportion. Almost to the end, she looked hot. What a waste, huh, Billy? What a waste, Billy echoed as Ned continued to the men's room. After a shared silence, the tourist said, You're an interesting guy, Billy Barkeep. Me? I've never hosed anyone's windows. You're like a sponge, I think. You take everything in. Billy picked up a dishcloth and polished some Pilsner glasses that had previously been washed and dried. But then you're a stone, too, the tourist said, because if you're squeezed, you give nothing back. Billy continued polishing the glasses. The gray eyes, bright with amusement, brightened further. You're a man with a philosophy, which is unusual these days, when most people don't know who they are, what they believe, or why. This, too, was a style of barroom jabber with which Billy was familiar, though he didn't hear it often. Compared with Ned Purcell's rants, such boozy observations could seem erudite, but it was all just beer-based psychoanalysis. He was disappointed. Briefly, the tourist had seemed different from the usual two-cheeked heaters who warmed the barstool vinyl. Smiling, shaking his head, Billy said, Philosophy. You give me too much credit. The tourist sipped his Heineken. Although Billy had not intended to say more, he heard himself continue. Stay low. Stay quiet. Keep it simple. Don't expect much. Enjoy what you have. The stranger smiled. Be self-sufficient. Don't get involved. Let the world go to hell if it wants. Maybe, Billy conceded. Admittedly, it's not Plato, said the tourist, but it is a philosophy. You have one of your own? Billy asked. Right now I believe that my life will be better and more meaningful if I can just avoid any further conversation with Ned. That's not a philosophy, Billy told him. That's a fact. At 10 minutes past 4, Ivy Elgin came to work. She was a waitress as good as any, and an object of desire without equal. Billy liked her, but didn't long for her. His lack of lust made him unique among the men who worked or drank in the tavern. Ivy